Dear students, welcome to this session on literary criticism. Today, we will have an introduction to the Romantic Age and will be discussing an extract from Preface to Lyrical Ballads. The Romantic Age. The Romantic Age is alternately known as the Age of Wordsworth. It was Thomas Carlyle who first used the terms Romanticism, Romantic, Romanticist, etc. Such terms came into use in England in the 1850s. There were many influential factors behind Romanticism. For example, the French Revolution, the slogan of liberty, equality and fraternity, the writings of Rousseau, the French philosopher, the writings of William Godwin, the writings of Mary Wollstonecraft. All these constituted the emergence of a new movement in literature which came to be known as the Romantic Age. The Romantic Age was a reaction against the Augustan school. In the previous class, we have learned the Augustan school or the neoclassical school. Now let's see what is the essence of Romanticism. It is all about liberalism in literature, freedom in literature. Writers started to introduce new material and they freely experimented with literary forms and new literary styles. The Romantic Age championed imagination, emotion, and absolute creative freedom. This age is known for the principle of spontaneity. As you hear the word spontaneity, I hope you can remember the world-famous definition of poetry proposed by Wordsworth. Another feature of the Romantic Age is the spirit of pantheism. What do you mean by pantheism? It's a doctrine which identifies God with the universe, or which regards the universe as a manifestation of God. An example of pantheism is rejecting the idea that God has an individual personality. Lyrical Ballads, written by Wordsworth and Coleridge in the year 1798, is believed to be the greatest manifesto of Romanticism. Lyrical Ballads was published in 1798. It is a collection of poems by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. It marked the beginning of the English Romantic movement in literature. In the year 1800, a second edition was released. In this one, Wordsworth included additional poems and a preface detailing poetic principles. I hope this is familiar to you, the definition of poetry as given by Wordsworth. Good poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility. any good poetry happens. It is sudden, it's an immediate feeling, and it's an overflow of what kind of feeling? Of powerful feelings. Here it's meant that intense feelings which are capable of stirring up a human personality, recollected in tranquility. I hope you have learned this definition in your 4th semester poetry paper. Coleridge, Wordsworth's collaborator, explained that the design of the book is meant to include 2 different kinds of poetry. One type in which the incidents and agents were to be, in part at least, supernatural. In the other, the subjects were to be chosen from ordinary life. Now, let us see what Wordsworth said about the subject matter of poetry. According to him, kings and noblemen should not be the subject matter of poetry. Poets should write about the incidents and situations from common life. Ordinary things should be presented to the mind in an unusual aspect, and they should throw over them a certain coloring of imagination. If we quote his own words, humble and rustic life, rustic means rural life, humble and rustic life was generally chosen because in that condition the essential passions of the heart find a better soil. Wordsworth rejected the subject matter of kings and noblemen. According to him, in rural conditions of life, our basic feelings coexist in a state of greater simplicity. And these feelings can be very effectively and forcibly communicated through a literary work. And it is from those elementary feelings that the manners of rural life germinate. And as I told you, the subject matter is ordinary men, common people with rural occupations. So the character of such rural occupations are also easy for us to understand. Such common men communicate with the best objects, thus the best part of language is derived. So here he is presenting why and how you should be choosing incidents and situations from common life because of the basic simple feelings which are easy to communicate, because of the nature of the rural occupations, and because of the language that those people use in their everyday life. For all these reasons, he is favoring incidents from common life, or people, ordinary people should be the subject matter of poetry. Now let us see what Wordsworth said about the language to be used in poetry. According to him, a poet should select the kind of language really used by men, that is, a plainer and emphatic language. Since the subject matter is common people living in rural areas, their language is obviously less under the influence of social vanity. So it should be simple and should have unelaborated expressions. Such a common, ordinary rural language, arising from repeated experience and regular feelings, is a more prominent and philosophical language according to Wordsworth. Wordsworth also makes remarks about the tendencies of other poets. There are poets who use uncommon language in their works. In doing so, they have a misunderstanding that they are giving honor upon their poetry and upon themselves. But actually, by using uncommon language, they are going far away from the sympathies of common men. And their habits of expression are rather unstable then. It would only cater to the silly and fickle tastes of the readers. So he is not favoring such tendencies. Wordsworth also mentions that there are certain defects which he cannot tolerate at all. One, triviality of thought and language, or meanness, parsimony of thought and language. If you write about a silly theme and if you do not use language in a proper way, then it's a serious defect. And he accuses that many of Wordsworth's contemporaries have done this in their metrical compositions. It is dishonorable to the writer's own character, according to Wordsworth. Wordsworth makes a few claims to be a poet. Let us see what it is. He said that his feelings are prompted and regulated by the habits of meditation or the habit of contemplation. All his descriptions in his poetic works do have a definite purpose, and for him, good poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, and he believed that poems of value are produced by men of more than usual organic sensibility. Our continued influxes of feeling are directed by our thoughts and past feelings. If we contemplate on the relation between these feelings, we will arrive at subjects which are highly important for human beings. If a poet discusses such subjects in a poetic work, definitely the reader's understanding will be highly enlightened. Wordsworth claims that the poems in this current volume has a worthy purpose, and the feelings developed in these poetry give importance to the action and situation. Now let us see what Wordsworth said about readers and writers. Readers will pay attention to poetry with a mark of distinction. Human mind is capable of being excited, and according to Wordsworth, the best service of a writer is to try to produce this capability of being excited, or try to enlarge the human capability of being excited. On this slide, you may find a few famous poems written by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Wordsworth's Lyrical Ballads, 2 volumes poems, The Excursion, The Prelude, An Evening Walk, descriptive sketches and so on, and Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Christabel, Kubla Khan, Biographia Literaria, and so on. Biographia Literaria is a classic text of literary criticism. Thank you.